Welcome to the deep dive. So you've sent us some really interesting sources on academic procrastination. I think that's something most of us have definitely bumped up
Oh,
against.
for sure. It's pretty universal, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And trying to sift through all the research, it can feel a bit like procrastinating itself.
Huh. Yeah, procrastination on understanding procrastination. That tracks.
Exactly. So today, that's our job. We're doing the heavy lifting, diving deep to pull out the core insights, the practical stuff that actually helps.
Right. Consider this your fast track. We've been immersed in this big systematic review, a recent one looking at interventions.
Published in the Educational Psychology Review, I saw.
That's the one. And crucially, this review looked at 21 studies published since 2018. And the key finding, 17 of them found significant reductions in procrastination.
17 out of 21. That's actually pretty encouraging.
It really is. So our mission today is understanding what that latest research tells us, what actually works for tackling procrastination, especially from an instructor's perspective, but honestly with takeaways for probably everyone listening.
Okay, so let's start with the problem itself. Academic procrastination. The review uses some strong language, calls it a prevalent and pernicious self-regulation failure.
Yeah, pernicious. It's not just a minor habit. It underlines how damaging it can be.
Pernicious means harmful, right? So it's not just about putting things off.
Exactly. And if you've ever felt that, like, dread as a deadline gets closer, you know it's more than just feeling a bit unmotivated.
Definitely felt that. And the review hammers this home.
It really does. It highlights these broad negative impacts. We're talking effects on academic performance, obviously, but also on students' health, their general well-being. It's systemic.
Okay, so it's common, it's harmful, really sets the stage for why finding solutions is so important.
Absolutely. Whether you're an educator trying to help students or maybe you just see this pattern in yourself sometimes, addressing it matters.
So let's get to that encouraging part you mentioned. The fact that 17 out of 21 recent studies show these interventions actually worked significantly. What kind of interventions are we talking about?
Well, that's what's fascinating. There's quite a range. It's not just one magic bullet, you know?
Okay.
The review groups them loosely. You've got psychological approaches, things like ACT acceptance and commitment therapy or CBT.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay.
Right. Then there's the tech side, using things like SMS reminders, surprisingly simple maybe, or more involved online training modules.
Little nudges, basically.
Sort of, yeah, digital nudges. And then there are changes to the actual classroom structure, like flipped learning.
Flipped learning.
Yeah,
That's where the lectures are homework and the class time is for activities and discussion.
you got it. Students watch lectures or read material beforehand, and class time becomes more interactive, problem-solving focused.
I can see how that might force you to engage earlier, maybe cut down on leaving it all to the last minute.
That seems to be the idea. And the review mentions specific studies that found, yeah, flipped learning was linked to less procrastination. It changes the whole rhythm of engagement.
Interesting. But okay, while it's great that lots of things seem to work, the review also pointed out some gaps, right? Areas where we still need more research.
Yes, definitely. And this is, I think, really important for understanding the current state of play.
What are the big question marks?
One major one is the lack of interventions focused specifically on strengthening conscientiousness.
Conscientiousness. So like being organized, diligent, reliable. That personality trait.
Exactly that. You know, the person who plans ahead, keeps meticulous notes, meets deadlines early. It's sort of the opposite vibe of procrastination, right?
Makes sense. If you're high on conscientiousness, you're probably less likely to procrastinate badly.
Precisely. But the review notes that while we know conscientiousness is linked, there hasn't been much research within these procrastination studies directly trying to increase it as the intervention.
So the question is, can you actually teach someone to be more conscientious, or is it just how they are?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The review does nod to broader personality research suggesting traits aren't totally fixed. Some studies outside this specific review suggest you can influence traits like conscientiousness.
Like the Magidson or Roberts studies mentioned.
Yeah, work like that suggests change is possible, though it wasn't the main focus of the procrastination interventions reviewed here. So it's an open area, maybe not a quick fix, but potential.
Okay, so maybe I'm just a procrastinator isn't the full story. There might be ways to nudge that tendency.
The science seems to lean that way, potentially. Another really critical gap highlighted is the need for more mediation and moderation analyses.
Okay, jargon alert. Let's break those down. Mediation first.
Right. Mediation is basically about understanding the how. How does an intervention actually work? What's the chain reaction?
So, like, the intervention causes X, which then causes Y, and that's what reduces procrastination, finding the middle steps.
Exactly. It's the mechanism. Does, say, a mindfulness exercise reduce procrastination because it lowers anxiety or because it improves focus, or both? Knowing that helps us refine the intervention.
Got it. The how. And moderation.
Moderation is about the for whom and under what conditions. Does a particular intervention work better for certain types of students?
So maybe SMS reminders work great for undergrads and large lectures, but not so well for grad students doing independent research or something like that.
Precisely. Or maybe an intervention is more effective for students who start out with really high levels of anxiety compared to those who procrastinate for other reasons. It's about tailoring.
Okay, so we need to know not just if it works, but how it works and who it works best for. That makes a ton of sense.
It moves us beyond a one-size-fits-all approach, which is crucial for something this complex.
Right. So let's pivot to the practical stuff. The review aimed to guide instructors. What are the actionable takeaways? And maybe things listeners can adapt for themselves.
Absolutely. A key recommendation is helping educators choose interventions that are actually feasible in their classrooms. What works in a small seminar might not scale to a 300-person lecture hall.
Resources, time, class size, all that practical stuff matters.
Totally. So considering feasibility is step one. But then the review gives examples of things that have shown promise in recent studies.
We mentioned flipped learning. What else stood out?
Well, time management interventions keep coming up. There was that Baker study inducing students in online classes to actually schedule when they'd watch lectures.
Just prompting them to plan it out.
Yeah, that simple nudge seemed to help reduce putting it off. It's about making that initial commitment, maybe.
Interesting, like setting mini deadlines for yourself. What about the tech side again? Those SMS reminders.
Yep. Studies looked at using SMS for reminders or even sending supportive messages, little digital taps on the shoulder.
I could see that helping cut through the noise sometimes. What about the more psychological angles? You mentioned ACT.
Yes, acceptance and commitment therapy. Studies explored this. The core idea isn't to eliminate the anxiety or boredom around a task.
Which is often impossible anyway.
Right. It's more about accepting those feelings are there, noticing them, but still committing to actions that align with your goals. Like, okay, I feel anxious and I'm going to write this paragraph anyway.
Learning to act despite the feeling, not waiting for the feeling to go away.
That's a good way to put it. Then there's mindfulness-based stuff.
Mindfulness seems to be everywhere lately. How does it apply here?
Research suggests that practicing being present, aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment, that can help you notice the urge to avoid a task without automatically acting on it.
So you see the thought, this is boring, but you don't immediately switch to scrolling social media. You just notice the thought.
Kind of, yeah. It creates a little space between the impulse and the action. And then, of course, there's cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
More traditional, perhaps.
Maybe more established in therapy contexts. CBT often focuses on identifying and challenging those unhelpful thought patterns that fuel procrastination.
Like thinking, I have to do this perfectly or not at all, or I'll definitely fail.
Exactly. CBT helps you examine those thoughts, see if they're really true, and reframe them into something more realistic and less likely to lead to avoidance.
Tackling the root beliefs.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And underlying a lot of this, I imagine, are just fundamental good practices.
Oh, absolutely. Things like effective goal setting, breaking huge projects down into tiny, manageable steps. That comes up again and again.
Makes it feel less overwhelming, easier to just start.
Definitely. And also the power of deadlines and commitment. We all know deadlines work, eventually.
Even the self-imposed ones.
Research suggests yes. Even setting your own intermediate deadlines can be effective. And pre-commitment strategies, basically, making choices now that lock you into a future course of action.
Like telling a friend you'll send them a draft by Friday so you feel accountable.
Exactly like that. Leveraging social pressure or just making it harder to back out later.
So wow, quite a toolkit. Tech nudges, therapy techniques, classroom changes, basic planning.
It's diverse.
Right.
But a really key point the review stresses is the importance of addressing the underlying factors. Why is the procrastination happening?
Right. Digging deeper.
Often, it's tied to emotion regulation, difficulty managing negative feelings like anxiety, boredom, frustration associated with the task.
So interventions that help with managing those emotions directly could be really powerful.
Extremely valuable. And the other big one is motivation, particularly intrinsic motivation.
Doing it because you want to, or find it interesting, not just because you have to.
Exactly. Fostering that sense of autonomy, competence, relatedness, things discussed in self-determination theory, can make tasks feel less like chores and reduce the urge to avoid them.
So it comes back to understanding the why for each person or situation.
It really does, which connects back to needing those mediation and moderation analyses we talked about.
It all ties together. Okay, so the big picture wrapping up. This deep dive shows that academic procrastination, well, yeah, it's a tough nut to crack
And widespread.
and widespread. It's definitely not unbeatable. There's solid recent evidence showing various strategies can make a significant difference.
Absolutely. The research is encouraging, but it also highlights we need to get smarter about how these things work and who they work best for. We need more nuance.
Refining the approaches, tailoring them.
Exactly. Understanding the mechanisms, considering those individual differences. That's the next frontier, really.
So thinking about everything we've covered, all these different angles, from tech aids and therapy ideas to just structuring your time differently.
Yeah.
What's maybe one small evidence-based shift that you, listening now, could maybe experiment with? For those tasks where you tend to drag your feet.
Yeah, just one small thing to try. Could be interesting.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.